All right, and we're live. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 8 o'clock on a Sunday evening. It's time for the Brushfire Mind. I actually have Cade in studio with me tonight. Steve can't make it. He's watching the Pens game. We can't blame him. And so right now it's just us. Live chat's open. Please join us with your commentary. Tonight we're going to be talking about Reality Winner. We're going to be talking about leaks. We're going to be talking about the Comey testimony. So let's jump right in. Let's dig in first to the Comey testimony, and I suspect that'll be the bulk of our show tonight. I want to touch on Reality Winner if we have a chance to get to her, but honestly, she just doesn't matter that much. She's a hot topic. She's a popular topic, but I can add a unique perspective to it, but she doesn't matter. So before we get too deep in the woods, let me hear from the audience. Let me hear who's here. Like I said, the live chat's open for you. Just go ahead and tag us real quick. And let me know in the comments section or in the live chat if you watched the Comey hearing and what you took away from it. Now, those of you who follow us, you probably know that we put out 3 bluffs this week. That's the bottom line up front stories. And on Comey, there were actually a few major revelations in the Comey hearing. Most of it was what we expected. A whole lot of nothing burger, a whole lot of unsubstantiated claims, unsubstantiable claims. And frankly, if it does turn out, I mean, President Trump said that we'll find out. I don't like the way he phrased it, but he said we'll find out soon if there were or weren't tapes. And of course, Comey said that he felt the need to put out his memo precisely because he was concerned that there were tapes, and there being tapes would mean that it wasn't just his word against Trump's. I'm almost willing to go to 4D chess on this one. I'm almost willing to give Trump I'm almost willing to treat it like Trump was playing 4D chess, and what happened when he said, you better hope there aren't tapes, is he was trying to bait Comey into making a mistake. Which, if that's the case, that's a big win. The Donald beat him to the punch on that one. Now, as to the leaking of the memo, it was treated like a leak from the get-go. Now, in fairness, the conversation was a private conversation, not actually classified. But the memorandum was written about an official meeting, and it was written on a government information system. So there is a case to be made there for the leak. So when the Donald says Comey's a leaker, Comey's a liar, yeah, we got some serious evidence on that point. Now, on the liar point, one of the contentious points on Comey claiming that Trump made certain claims, certain demands, certain requests, is that if that's true, if what Trump did is in fact obstruction of justice, which we're pretty certain now it just doesn't rise to that level. But if that were the case, then what we have is that Comey had a duty to report that at the time and did not. And now we know that with Loretta Lynch, she did attempt to pressure Comey into taking action on behalf of Hillary Clinton to make that case go away, to back off of that investigation, to call it something different. And he didn't report that either. So he had a duty to report that. I doubt that we're going to see Comey get prosecuted unless further evidence comes out of wrongdoing in the Hillary email scandal. But there is sufficient evidence to pursue prosecution on Comey. And that word prosecution, that's very important. we keep hearing in the news that a special prosecutor's been assigned, and then we hear special counsel, special, and they keep using those words as if they're interchangeable. But that's a very important distinction. A special counsel, the assignment of a special counsel, can investigate pretty much anything he wants to. There doesn't have to be a crime involved. If there's a crime, if crime is being investigated, that would be a special prosecutor. So, hey, Gandhi's with us. Hey, brother, good to see you. Hey, real quick, Gandhi, did you watch the hearing? I'm betting no, but I'm willing to be surprised. Swing it at me. So if there was actually a crime, then we would be looking at a special prosecutor. So they've made a big deal about Trump asking Comey to tell the press, hey, I'm not being investigated. Comey, why don't you tell the press that you are not investigating President Donald Trump? And Comey talked about the duty to correct. That if he were to put out information that became false, that he would have to correct that information. But of course, we had Rubio. Rubio, man, he knocked it out of the park. What'd you think of Rubio? Did you see?
I did not see Rubio.
Okay,
I did. Yeah.
So Rubio.
I saw McCain though, and that was riveting.
We'll get to that. Term limits, because we're worried about you, man. So Rubio asked the question. He said, Mr. Comey, do you think it's odd that the only thing that hasn't been leaked is that Donald Trump is not being investigated? And that's an important point. There is no investigation into Donald Trump. Now, let me say that again. Because so many times we've been told that the investigation is about collusion with the Russians. It's not. If there were evidence that the Donald had colluded with the Russians, then there would be an investigation into that collusion. There is no investigation into collusion by Donald Trump with the Russians. Now, that is not to say that there's not an investigation going on with people he's associated with. But Comey said that's not going on either. What's being investigated is the Russians interfering in the election. Now, Comey pointed out that he said there's no fuzz here. This is absolute. The Russians attempted to interfere in the elections. But in this hearing and in several other hearings, he has also testified that no votes were changed by Russian hackers. That they essentially, what Comey's testimony all adds up to is there's evidence that the Russians attempted to influence elections. So let me touch on Reality Winner real quick. The memorandum that she leaked, the documents that she leaked, were essentially evidence that Russian hackers had used phishing scams and malware to attempt to infect and attack a company that handles voting machines and the software that goes with the hardware, but that they failed. So what Comey's testimonies add up to is the Russians may have tried to interfere with the elections, but there's no evidence, there's nothing to suggest that they had any success at all. In fact, everything that we have speaks to the contrary, that they made the attempt, but they failed miserably. But we keep hearing this talk about fake news. And we've seen fake news. We know what fake news looks like. But the part of the allegation of the Russian interference has to do with Russians publishing fake news to influence American voter opinions for Donald Trump. Okay. What was that fake news? What did we learn about Hillary Clinton through the media that turned out to be false? Okay, so we had conversations about her health and how she appeared to be very sick. But we saw the video. We saw the tape. She had her long coughing fit at the one political rally. she had to leave the Veterans Day Memorial Day, or no, it was Veterans Day. She had to leave the Veterans Day rally early. That was the one where she fell down and had to be physically lifted up.
Well, Veterans Day would have been after the election, though.
It wasn't as early as Memorial Day.
No, it wasn't in May. No, it wasn't Labor Day. Well, I mean,
was it
Veterans Day is always November 11th, correct?
Correct.
So
yeah, that was
But is this the one you're talking about? Is the one where she was basically dragged into the vehicle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had to be physically lifted
and
up.
Something came out of her pant leg
and set into the vehicle. Something fell.
Probably her battery,
right, she pooped.
her C-3PO battery, or whatever it was. Gross.
I think she pooped.
That's awesome.
Y'all can quote me on that. Hillary pooped.
That's what we're titling this video.
Yep. So, and please leave it in the live chat, or if you're watching this a week from now, drop it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If anybody can show me an article about Hillary that was false, that was proved false, that there was no evidence to back it up. I mean, we know about the emails. We know about the Podesta situation. We know, I mean, all that stuff. And the other thing, they keep talking about the Russians hacking the DNC emails. When? Which set of emails did they hack?
And what difference would that have made when the DNC has already pushed Bernie out anyway?
Well, okay, so the Podesta emails, those were an inside job.
Yeah.
And that's basically what went to WikiLeaks. And even if the Podesta emails were the work of the Russians, let's face it, the emails that really hurt Hillary, and rightly so, were the ones that they found on the private server. That's got nothing to do with any kind of a hack at all. Those emails, and this is a little sleight of hand.
Not even a claimed hack.
Right.
There was not even an excuse to come up with other than ignorance.
And there's this little sleight of hand that the Dems are trying to do, that the lefties keep trying to pull. They keep trying to conflate all of the emails that were part of the Clinton failure. They keep trying to conflate them all together as if they were all the product of the same hacker and they were all the product of WikiLeaks. But the big one, the 60,000 emails that contain piles of classified information, top secret information, special access programs information. People died because this information got out. Those had nothing to do with any hack. Those were discovered by the Intelligence Committee's investigation into the Benghazi failure. So, I'm sorry, the Russians don't, you can't claim the Russians on that one. But that's what they're trying to do when they conflate the emails, all the emails together. Okay, do you have anything to add?
No, every time I thought I was going to add something, you covered it. So, good job. Because the only thing I was going to say in what you were just talking about was the reality winner thing, that the documents that she moved over actually just supported exactly what Comey said. And of course, for that reason, it's not getting mainstream media coverage because it doesn't support a narrative of any kind. Which is why the Brushfire Mind is here.
Yep.
That's our purpose.
To assault that narrative. Absolutely.
That's right.
Okay, what else did we get out of the Comey hearing? We talked about him being pressured by Loretta Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the situation with the leaking. And did anybody else get this? I mean, Comey's just a snake. Just a damn snake. He went in there and was very carefully trying to insinuate damaging information without committing himself sufficiently to be held culpable or liable for that information. He was very careful with all of that. And for those of you for anybody who doesn't know this, who doesn't understand the stature of this guy, we're talking about a man who is the head of the FBI, and he talked about his own cowardice. He talked about how Donald Trump intimidates him and scares him, and he's just afraid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is 6'4", and in his 70.
Yeah.
Is he 71? 70.
Sure.
James Comey is 6'8". I'm so huge, people remark when I walk in rooms. James Comey's bigger than that.
I used to be until I met Chris.
And and James Comey is bigger than that. And he says he's afraid of Donald Trump. He said if I was stronger. So, I mean, I smell a rat in all of that.
Well, Chris, you and I talked about before we went live tonight. This is purely speculative, and I won't spend any time on it because of that. There's a feeling that I got, not when Comey announced the result of the actual findings themselves, and that he would not recommend prosecution, which of course blew everybody's mind at the time. But it was the hearings afterwards. This man, I'm a fairly intuitive person. This man strikes me as a good, solid person who is exactly what he purports to be, who has recently been corrupted. And if it was something, if the corruption was the result of threat, I don't know. I mean, was it whatever the Clintons were threatening him with? Obviously, he's intimidated by things that he shouldn't be intimidated by. So maybe, but I feel like there is something. I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for a tell-all book to hit the New York Times bestseller list. I want Comey to go to a country who doesn't. What's the term?
Non-extradition country.
Non-extradition country. And where he can feel safe on some little island somewhere with his family and write a tell-all book, because there is something there, and it's not just all the stuff that he says. I can't talk about that in this setting.
Maybe he should go to Russia.
Oh, speaking of Russia,
they're still hiding Snowden.
Speaking of Russia, Putin, who has been pretty straightforward about everything. This is a man who, unlike Comey, seemingly is not afraid of anything. Right. And he flat denied, and he was very frank in his interview. I did not watch the entire interview, but he flat denied that the Russian government had anything to do with the voting. So but he did not throw away the thought that it could have been Russian hackers that were, but he said not in my government, not to my knowledge, was I ever presented with anything that I gave the okay on to actually doing something with the election. And coming from Putin, honestly, I believe it.
Yeah. So,
and David, yes. Yeah, I'm not the only one. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So David says, yeah, when a lot of people's sixth senses are saying something is wrong, then something is wrong. And yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I love the memes, like where it looks like Hillary's tweeting. I'm heartbroken about hearing about Comey's impending suicide. I'm just beside myself at the news of James Comey's impending suicide. Okay. We got to do better than this.
Well, it's the same thing every week. Nothing's getting resolved. No one's changing any minds. We, as in the American people, have all made up our minds, supposedly. This is again why the Brushfire Mind is here, to present you with the truth. But everyone in this country makes up their minds about something, and they do not budge. They just get on the internet and they search for things to back up what they think is the absolute truth.
Right.
And it gets a little exhausting, honestly. So yeah, it feels a little dry tonight, and we apologize, but my God, it won't go away. It's the same things. hitting back and forth, and it doesn't matter what you present, especially to the left, especially in their losing position right now. Since the results of the election came in, they are absolutely solid. They are immovable on their beliefs. It doesn't matter what you present them with. So hopefully at least we're, if nothing else, we're giving people on the right, or at least the anti-leftists, some material to come back on. I dare you. Come argue with Christopher Lowry. Good luck.
And I don't know the truth. I don't know the whole truth.
Nobody does.
But I can drill. I can dig. I can look. And I can attempt to figure out. I can apply Occam's razor to the claims. What kind of emails, David? What kind of emails are you talking about here?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. David says, and the emails that cross my work desk daily have me wondering all the time. We all know emails are interesting things.
Yeah. Okay. So reality winner. Is there anybody in the audience right now that doesn't know who she is? I tell you what, I started hearing about this leaker.
No thanks.
And I started hearing about this leaker. And I kept hearing on the radio, I kept hearing on the news, reality winner arrested for leaking classified documents. And I just kept asking, I just kept wanting to know. I was like, what'd she win? Survivor? Big Brother? Family Feud? What? Oh, the bitch's name is Reality Lee Winner. Here's the fun bit. Reality Lee Winner lost so big. And why did she lose? To reality, because she lives in utter fantasy. She's one of these dyed in the wool.
Got cocky, didn't you?
Hardcore leftists. Bernie supporter. I wouldn't be surprised to catch her in all black flinging Molotov cocktails at First Amendment supporters. Oh, nice. Okay, David, I got you. Yes. Yeah, you can hold those. You can hold those right there. Maybe we talk about it another time. I would like to do some work for OPM personally. I took a swing at it a few years ago, and they just didn't have any positions open that I was willing to move to. Anywho, so, but what reality managed to leak? And the story just keeps getting better and better.
Ooh, is this the phone call bit?
So she leaked documents that pretty well prove that the Russians tried and failed to hack anything.
So she didn't actually accomplish anything with her.
So her leak is a flub, but she still leaked classified information. So she's going to jail.
Oh, she's there.
Yeah, she's there. Out. And the hits just keep on coming. So she got busted, and I just want to choke her and say, "Sweetheart, you work in intelligence. Don't you know how this shit works? You're in jail for compromising national security. They're listening to your phone calls." So she got caught telling her sister, "Oh, look, I'm blonde and cute. I'm blonde and white and cute. I'll just put my hair in braids and maybe a little crocodile tear, and I'll get away with this." So now that is an article in evidence.
Can we point out real quick? This is not phone calls made on her personal cell phone.
Right. No. These are phone calls made on the phone at the prison.
In prison, making these phone calls and expecting not to be listened to somehow. Yeah, exactly. And then in another call, she's not the brightest cookie in the shed.
And keep in mind, she has pled not guilty to all charges. And in another phone call, she says to her mother,
she's pleaded insanity.
"I really messed up leaking those documents.
Hi.
So now all of a sudden, not
Documents with
only
an S.
not only is that essentially a recorded confession. She has essentially confessed that she did it, and so she has pled guilty to a crime that she knows she has committed. But she said documents. So now the investigation is being treated under the assumption that there's more intelligence which she has taken out of a secure location.
I'm so sorry I took the wind out of your sails there. I jumped ahead. You were building up to it, and I was like, let me just spoil that here.
Just shit right up my nose.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You say something for a
while. We'll edit it out.
Talk to the people.
No, I'll just give them a bunch of Wonder Woman spoilers.
No, it's your turn. You have something.
Oh, okay. Actually, no, I don't. Not until we get to White Hats Matter, which I'm greatly anticipating.
Talk about Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
No spoilers. Wonder Woman.
I want to spoil it so bad. Listen, folks. Not once did I have the Fox News reaction that I was upset that she wasn't American enough or whatever. This was, in my personal opinion, the greatest superhero film made to this point. And no, I'm not including Nolan's Batmans. Those are crime thrillers that I just don't. They're phenomenal films that shouldn't belong in there. But despite it not being American, and in fact, the one American in the film is working with the British, and it's all from the point of view of the British Army in World War One. But it is hard, regardless of any of that, not to walk out of that theater feeling super American, walking out just feeling powerful and wanting to change stuff. And I probably can't grow up to be Wonder Woman. I mean, there are so many great surgical possibilities nowadays, but I'm just not willing to put the money and the effort into it. But this hero is a model. Take your kids. They need to see some good violence anyway.
Don't take the kids. They'll sleep through the movie.
Or well, Chris's kids slept through the movie.
So I took Cade and my wife and my 3 kids. We all went to see the movie today, and yeah, so we made it through the previews pretty good. But by the time the movie started, we were out of popcorn. I mean, bucket of popcorn. We were out of popcorn, and
I didn't even have any.
And the boy was pitching a temper tantrum. My 2-year-old was pitching a temper tantrum
because he's being raised in a sexist environment.
Yeah,
a conservative sexist environment.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a white male, so my child hates women.
Right. Yeah. Obviously.
And so mommy toted him out, and they just went and did whatever they did, and she got a voucher to replace her movie ticket. And then my daughters, my 6-year-old, my 4-year-old, they weren't disturbed by anything. No, they just straight slept through the movie. But Cade and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Oh,
So we don't want to do any spoilers.
No.
But let's talk motif. So it was dark. Okay. Once
not
they
like
left,
previous DC dark.
Once they leave Themyscira and go into the real world where the First World War is happening.
Now remember, this is London circa 19 teens and 20s. So it hadn't changed much from Dickens' day. You don't have to be Zack Snyder to suck the color out of London from that period.
Yeah, there's a hole in the world, like a great black pit, and the vermin of the world inhabit it, and it goes by the name of London. That's the London. This is Sweeney Todd's London. This is, yeah, exactly, Dickens' London. This is, but in kind of much the same way that the Nolan Batman movies, especially the first one, it was a crime thriller that happened to have a superhero in it. This was a war movie, a World War I war movie that happened to have a superhero in it.
Because let me tell you, Diana Prince was not the only hero in this film.
No, not at all.
And they were, I mean, the way it treated the military, the way it treated sacrifice was fantastic. I mean, it didn't have the Hollywood. There were some parts that had a liberal feel, but the kind of liberalism that I'm perfectly fine with and that I even will support. But it was not, we're not talking about like James Cameron, damn the military, damn capitalism. This was absolutely pro-West and pro-military, and added a lot of gravity to frankly something that's sucked of gravity in so many other films that come out all the time. Mm-hmm. So kudos to Patty Jenkins, who I think she should just do the rest of the DC movies. Phenomenal film. Go out, pay the money as many times as you can. We need more of these.
Yep. Definite votes up for that one.
Obviously, Reality Winner will see it in prison and she'll hate
it. And let us know in the chat and in the comments. We're planning on starting to do movie reviews, most especially films.
Better than this. Better than what? This is off the cuff because we're just running out of shit to talk about.
But we're going to be going back to some older films and talking about. We'll be talking about things like where there's a surprise conservative message in a film, like
often very unintended.
Yeah.
Like the RoboCop remake.
Like the RoboCop movie. They tried so hard to make it a super liberal, anti-Fox News, anti-guns.
Started out basically making fun of Glenn Beck.
Right. And then the movie just it became a love letter to the Second Amendment in spite of itself. By the time the film was over, every point that the film was trying to make, it had essentially evidenced itself out of. So that's so we're gonna go back and do a lot of those. We'll talk about the super pro Second Amendment stuff from
Angry Birds movie. Oh my god!
We'll talk about the super pro Second Amendment stuff in Civil War. That was a total love letter to the Second Amendment.
That was a big accident too.
No,
had to be.
No way.
Come on. I mean, maybe not the actual the team. Are they brothers? That did that directed the Captain America movies and are now directing the further Avengers.
I don't know.
Either they're really sneaky and got away with it, because we're talking about Marvel is owned by Disney, and there's I have a feeling their studio heads are quite left. But kudos to them for not letting it leak into coexist bumper sticker on a pig car. I don't remember that. All right, we're pulling that image up, Krista. Oh, that's great. So either these guys are just really good at sneaking it in, or maybe the people in charge of the Marvel movies really are pro-Constitution, not just Second Amendment, but pro-Constitution, pro-military. Because if you watch Civil War, it's very, very clear that Iron Man's point of view is based on very heavy liberal guilt that's been put on him. Based on collateral damage. And Captain America, it's not just what we gleaned from it as an audience. Captain America was in the right in that film, and I don't think it shied away from making it really pushing that. Do you, Chris?
No, not at all.
I mean, you got the impression that they really wanted you to believe that Captain America was in the right. Iron Man was emotionally compromised and was making decisions based on that emotion, not on the hard facts. You know what? Which, as we know, is what the left does. I mean, that's what they're infamous for it. Or famous, depending on what side you're on.
We've got about 10 minutes before it's time to get on to the White Hats Matter. So, this isn't going to substitute for the full-on analysis of the review. But let me talk about some of the messaging in Civil War. That's something to talk about right now.
Okay.
So what you've got going on in Civil War? Remember, Tony Stark just gave the big speech to the guys at MIT. Just told them that all their projects have been funded, yada yada yada, and then he sneaks out the back. Oh, excuse me. And there's this woman waiting for him by the elevator. and she shows him a picture of her son and explains he was in whatever the name of the city was.
Moldavia or some, whatever made up Eastern European city that was.
He was in the city that Ultron had ripped up out of the ground to use to kill everybody in the previous movie. And so she shows him the picture and she says, "You murdered my boy." No. Unacceptable. Now, before that, at the beginning of the movie, you've got that scene where the bad guy throws the bomb at Tony. Or no, I'm sorry, at Captain America. And Scarlet Witch catches the bomb with her magic and throws it away, and it's a building. And some people die in the building. And, "Oh, you're terrible. You're bad people. You killed all those people." No. That's not what happened. When a soldier shoots down a terrorist wearing a suicide vest, and a few people die, but the terrorist in the vest fails to get into the big crowd, the people who died are collateral damage. The soldier did not murder them. Because what he did do is he saved all those other lives. When you are empowered to save hundreds or thousands of lives, which is something that happens to soldiers on occasion, or even just a few, if you're empowered to save 8 or 10 lives, and somebody dies in the process, the alternative was to let 8 or 10 people go, was to let 8 or 10 people die. Now, we're not asked. This is not the philosophical flipping thought experiment where you say, okay, if you could kill one little girl and that would end all disease, would you do it? And no, that's not the question. The question is there a thing that you can do that can save some lives? And that's the only question. And often when a soldier is asked that question, whether or not there will be collateral damage is not a necessarily known factor. So to say that somebody took an action where a few thousand people died when the city hit the ground after they stopped Ultron from causing global extinction, the Avengers did not murder those people. They saved every other life. And there is a point of no return where you just haven't acted soon enough to save all the lives. That doesn't mean that if you can't save everybody, that you should choose to save nobody. Excuse me. But that's the argument that's being posed from the left side in Civil War.
And let's make this very clear real quick. The supposedly bloodless, supposedly peaceful wars that are waged, by the left will potentially cost more lives than actual war. You understand what I'm saying?
Say that again.
The peaceful, the well-meaning, peaceful, supposedly bloodless wars waged by the left, the wars against violence, the protests, the guilt, the forced guilt, things like that, will ultimately cost more lives than actually waging war against the bad man and innocent people dying during the conflict.
And David, you're right. War is not glamorous.
I mean,
it's wonderful.
The Desert Storm. I don't know exactly. I don't know everything that was involved in that. I was a kid, and I have not looked into it like Chris has spent so much time on it. But if Bush 41 was able to go through completely and obliterate Saddam Hussein in 1991 or so, right? If his reins were not pulled in by the peaceful, bloodless war being waged, why do I keep saying raged? Waged. By the left, would we have had a second another conflict there?
No.
Would we have just gone to Afghanistan or just gone after terrorists? Would we have actually gone back in? Or if we had ended it right there, would there have been repercussions 12 years later that led to even more lives being lost if we were allowed to finish the mission?
Right.
Same thing with Vietnam.
Well, the war we're in
Vietnam,
right now, we are still at war from when we went in after 9/11, precisely because W and Obama didn't have the testicular fortitude or the sphincteral integrity to unchain and unleash the dogs of war so that we could complete our missions and finish the fight. They lack the will to do what men do, which is to engage, to close the distance with the enemy, and to destroy him and finish the fight.
Look what happened in Vietnam. The first time we put cameras in the midst of war, live, not photo. I mean, we had photo records of the Civil War that weren't seen till the 20th century rolled around, probably for most people. But when we put that
football,
they were watching every night on the evening news. People were seeing images of war, and the damage that did cost more American lives and more Vietnamese lives over a span of time that ended in nothing. That ended in just a totally worthless waste of lives in a place that's now communist Ho Chi Minh City because we couldn't finish anything. And a lot of the reason was because of the outcry from home, because they were just now that's what World War I and II looked like, but people didn't put that together.
Right.
And when they finally saw it, oh God, no, we can't be there. Okay, well, we got to listen to the public. We're tired of dealing with the hippies and their signs and all that. And look what happened. I mean, it costs lives, people. It costs lives.
Okay, so we're about to do the White Hats Matter segment.
Let me pull it up. BS for a second.
Well, I was going to say, before I do, I want you guys to keep an eyeball out. I'm going to be putting out not a bluff, but kind of a special relative to reality winner. Because as little as is going to come from her leaking, there is something important to take note of here. Reality winner is another operative in a war against the United States that's being waged by the far left. And they're waging their war in the same way that ISIS is waging their war. They're using amorphous warfare. We've talked about this on the show before. We did a live show specifically on it in, I think, June or July of last year. So amorphous warfare is different than asynchronous. Asynchronous warfare is like the most recent generation of warfare. It's instead of soldiers in straight lines moving at each other, your enemy and your allies are just kind of asynchronously spread across the battlefield. So you might actually be facing, pointing at an ally, but the enemy's in the middle of you. They're scattered through the villages. You're not just attacking each other on the lines. There's no line to hold. You don't have a trench and then no man's land and then another trench where nobody can go through the trench because you're going to get ate up by machine guns. Amorphous warfare is the current model. And what makes it so nasty is that the warriors, the attackers, the spies, the infiltrators, the insurgents, they're not directly connected to the enemy command structure, but rather instead of actually recruiting operatives directly and then communicating orders to them, what happens, and it's radical Islam and the radical left are both doing this. You craft a narrative that teaches people Allah or great sacred Obama will be pleased if you do something doesn't matter what, but if you do something that hurts the enemy, and for people like Reality Winner, the enemy is all straight, white, cisgendered men.
Oh, cisgender.
I know, I hate that word too. But that's who the enemy. We're us.
Yeah.
Most of you guys that are watching now, I know, Krista, you're. I know. But
oh, by the way, the coexist bumper sticker on the pig car.
Oh yeah, I found the coexist bumper sticker on the pig car.
Can you put that up?
Oh, but anyway, that's the amorphous
context of
that's the amorphous warfare thing. There's your coexist bumper sticker on the back of the pig car. And like I said,
I'll message within a movie too. By the way,
I'll do a show about. I'll do a show specifically about that whole amorphous warfare thing pretty soon. So now it's time to move on to White Hats Matter, heartwarming stories of death and destruction. And our man Cade is going to share our White Hats Matter.
I'm filling in for Steve tonight. This is fantastic, and I really wish, because Steve deserves to be able to do this. He's earned this, and this is a great story. And I've got a great follow-up, which I'm going to call White Cats Matter. Which, oh God, I can't wait.
It's a black cat.
It is a black cat, true, but you know. So this one is out of Indianapolis. This is the second incident that's happened in Indianapolis in, I believe, within a week. This, people, is how it's done. Indiana woman home alone with her 4 children who need to be protected unless they're in schools because they're well protected by their gun-free zone sign. 19, she shot and killed, that's right, DRT, dead right there. Shot and killed a 19-year-old man who broke into their home. She heard the sound of someone breaking into the apartment, and another reason why I say this is how it's done. When she went to investigate the noise, she saw the intruder in the home, fired at the man, killing him as he stood just inside the doorway of the apartment. Dude didn't get to wipe his feet off on the welcome mat, and he was DRT. That's how it's done. So this Indiana woman, I love you. We love you. The children, all of whom were under the age of 7, no one injured. She protected her family. And this is great. The guy who broke in, identified as Michael Hawkins, a man who identified himself as Hawkins' father at the scene, said that his son went by the nickname of, wait for it, Lucky. So we have Reality Winner losing, and Lucky ain't so lucky anymore. And this is the second time in second time in 2 days, not even a week. Second time in 2 days that an Indy homeowner shot and killed an intruder. Another one was Derek Johnson, who was killed, 18-year-old, after he broke into his home through a window. Let's not talk about that one. That's just sad. That's really
okay.
I'm not going.
That's not a white hat story.
No. I apologize. I didn't read that closely enough when I was going through.
But we were really interested in the other one.
Yes. Oh yeah, the other one. Okay. I don't know if it's as good as the guy being named Lucky, because although you think it's just a guy who was there that was like, I'm his dad, and we call him Lucky because he's just trying to be clever and get his name in the papers. I don't know, but anyway, all right. White cats matter. Except this time it's a black cat. This one is fantastic. This thing is written by Hollywood basically, but it's not. The cat's name is Binky. Binky. I love it. Remember wasn't it the clown on Garfield and Friends? The really obnoxious one, maybe. I don't remember. Even better, the name of the intruder was Earl Scruggs. So this is Binky versus Earl Scruggs, who repeatedly tried to come in through a window of the house and was suddenly kicking and screaming when Binky, a declawed cat, the cat is sans claws. Binky attacked Mr. Earl Scruggs and drove him off. And some of the quotes here from Cynthia Coots, not Kuntz, Coots. And this is, I'm automatically giving them Southern accents, and I'm totally against that. I'm a Southerner, and every time we give country bumpkins a Southern accent, it just seems insulting. But anyway, Miss Coots said, well, I thought he ran into the house. And next thing I knew, Binky took off again. And this time he tore the guy's hand and arm up. This time he held on to that guy. All I seen was fur going up. And they've been on the hunt for him the past hour, going through the neighborhood trying to get into other people's houses. And Coots summed it up by saying, he's my baby. He's rotten and totally spoiled. He gets his way at everything. Don't make your cat mean. Don't hurt them to get them mean. Treat them like a normal cat, because cats are just mean. I mean, why would you need to train a cat to be mean? It's just in their DNA. In the end, quote, in the end, the cat will take up to you. No matter what, he'll be loyal to you. And that is the story of Binky versus Earl Scruggs. The declawed cat, Chris. The cat has no claws.
Grown-ass
it has
man.
little teeth.
Grown-ass man got his ass whooped by a domestic cat
with
no claws.
And I do want to add this, going back, I hate to end on this note, but I forgot to add in this quote. We discussed this right before the show. This is a quote from a police officer in Indianapolis about, this is going back to the shooting, the guy that was killed just inside the doorway.
And if anybody can get me this officer's address, I'll happily mail him a black cowboy hat.
And I don't know how else to take this, but I do have to say,
maybe a pink one.
Yeah, but it has to be shaped like a vagina. It has to be or a cat. You know, the whatever. Anyway, so he says, I don't know the inflection that he put on the words here, but the quote is actually from Officer Aaron Hamer or something. It's looks like Hammer, but only has one M. It is disheartening that we see burglaries resulting in death, but we live in Indiana, and it's legal for people to have guns to protect themselves. Really? Now, he did say to protect themselves at the end, which means there may have been an inflection that makes this a little unfair. But if you look at the quote, just read it straight up.
It sounds like this guy
should not have a gun or a badge.
Right.
But anyway, it was a heartwarming tale of death and destruction. #DRT. Dude didn't get past the front door. That's how it's done. Four children under the ages of 7. Free and clear and breathing today because someone exercised their Second Amendment right.
All right, so this week we've learned that, there's no there. Russia's a dud. It's done. That doesn't mean we're going to stop hearing about it, but it's dead. There's just nothing there. So, I mean, come back at them. Tell them. Shut them down. Look, there's no there. Show me some evidence. Show me some evidence. Show me some evidence. And let me just educate you all just a little bit in case this has escaped you. One of the favorites by the libs is, well, prove that you didn't blah 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 blah. Chris Cuomo a couple weeks ago said somebody has got to prove that there isn't any evidence on Russia if y'all want to keep using that narrative. You
guilty until proven innocent.
Guilty until proven innocent, but more importantly, you cannot prove a negative. That's why the burden of proof is always on the prosecution. That's why the burden of proof is always on the accuser. If there isn't evidence, you cannot prove that there isn't. If we haven't discovered evidence, there's no way to prove that nothing exists. Right? You cannot prove. Let's just hit faith for a minute, or you're a Christian or whatever. I don't care. You'll get atheists that go on about how, well, I'm an empiricist. I only believe in what I can see, and you can't prove that God exists. Yeah, well, you can't prove he doesn't. You cannot prove a negative. It cannot be done. So when they say prove that, I had a lib the other night tell me Milo Yiannopoulos is a white supremacist. I'm like, no, he's not. She said, oh yeah, prove it. You prove it. You made an accusation. You made an allegation. You are the one on whom the burden of evidence
like the
falls.
Laziest lawyers on earth.
Right. It's the worst kind of sophistry. So ignore the bastards. Tell them they're stupid. And
no, we're not talking directly to them. We know they don't watch this show.
Yeah, I know.
And they never will.
I try.
They'll just sit here and nose fart at it the whole time. They don't get that. It's scoff. The word scoff is actually in Korean.
The Korean word for scoff is kolpangkwi, which is nose, fart. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life.
Look out for bluffs. Keep your eyes out for bluffs during the week. Breaking news, Chris is going to handle it.
Yeah, we had 3 bluffs this last week.